Hi, I'm Amy Rossman, Executive Director of Rodman for Kids, a nonprofit focused on empowering youth charities to build brighter futures for kids, and your co-host of the Brighter Futures podcast.
And I'm Jane Lima, Senior Marketing and Communications Manager at Rodman for Kids, your other co-host of the Brighter Futures podcast, where we tell the stories behind the impact and the people building brighter futures.
This isn't just a podcast about impact. It's about the people behind it, the communities who come together, the connections that drive change, and the shared belief that we can build something better for kids together.
On the Brighter Futures podcast, we will shine a light on the partnerships, programs, and people behind the impact, because brighter futures don't just happen, they're built together. So today we are diving deeper into our charity partner program and really talking about what year-round support looks like in practice. So we are joined by Kristie Dean, founder and executive director of the Soul Project, one of our incredible charity partners.
And Kristie brings a powerful perspective on what nonprofits need to not only survive, but thrive, and how partnership plays a critical role in that. She is the founder and executive director of the Soul Project, as Jane mentioned. And the Soul Project is a Massachusetts-based nonprofit dedicated to creating brave, inclusive spaces where women and girls of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities can belong, build resilience, and grow into their most confident selves. With a master's degree in positive psychology and training as a holistic health coach, Kristie blends movement, personal growth, and community to design evidence-based programs such as Soul Power Play, Soulful Girls Club, and Thrive. These initiatives support the well-being and personal development of women and girls across southeastern Massachusetts. At the heart of her work is the belief that confidence is built through experiences and spaces that encourage individuals to play big, trust themselves, and find a sense of belonging.
Welcome to the podcast, Kristie.
Hi, ladies. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
We're
We're
so
s-
excited to have you. Sorry, Amy, I
I
cut you
was going to
off.
say, we're so excited to have you. We're both feeling that.
So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you come into your role at the Soul Project? How did you create the Soul Project?
My story is one of probably, every nonprofit starts in its own unique way, but I think many people, founder wise, have a moment where they see a need and they try to fill that need, and they have this burning passion inside of them to be part of a solution. So in the overarching sense, that's my quick story. But to bring you back, it was 2019, and I now have 3 children, but I had 2 under 2 under 2 at the time. And I have been a professional photographer for the past nearly 20 years and a solopreneur, and I had a million acquaintances and really started to have this awakening that I didn't have many meaningful connections in my life. And as many new moms might relate to, you have this moment where you have these little kids you're responsible for, and you really start to look inward and think about, who am I being in this world? Am I the type of role model that I want for my kids? And I sort of had an existential crisis of my own at that time. And I went to see a life coach, and this life coach worked with me. At the beginning, we did this exercise. I had to come up with a term that described me at the beginning of my work with him. And then at the end, we did the same exercise. And the 2 terms I came up with, the one at the beginning, I was a people pleaser, and the one at the end was soulful. And I decided at that time I was going to start to create space in my life where I could feel soulful. And with 2 little babies at home, that didn't mean I could go travel Europe for 7 months and, had to be realistic about it. So I said, I am going to create a project right here within my own reality. And I am going to use my gifts, which are for storytelling and connecting and making people feel comfortable and heard and seen. And I started this little project called Soul Stories. And I started sharing one woman's story each week. And I did that every Monday. And what I thought would be a quick closed project of 12 stories turned into over 200. And so that's really where this whole thing began, from my own existential crisis of wanting to find my own purpose and connect deeply with others and to support and elevate women around me. And it's funny that today that's really at the heart of everything the Soul Project is doing. So after I established that Stories Project, I realized one day, 2 years in, that I had established this wonderful organic community that was reading along and supporting these stories of resilience, of redemption, of authenticity. And I decided I wanted to follow the next breadcrumb, which was how can I add more value to this community? And I thought of a question that I asked every woman, which is, what would you tell a 12-year-old you? And the answer to that question really got to the heart of every story. And it also led me to the first program and to turning Soul Stories into the Soul Project as a nonprofit organization. And the first program I started was Soulful Girls, where we would bring in women from the community to add value to adolescent girls in real time. Since then, we've established three really thriving programs that serve three different demographics of women. But our mission, our overarching mission, is to create spaces for women and girls of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities, spaces where they can belong, build resilience, and grow into their most grounded and confident selves. And so that's where I am today.
I love it. I don't think I've ever heard the true origin story of the Soul Project. So I'm really glad you shared that
Yeah.
with us, Kristie. And I love that you sought out to sort of solve your own existential crisis. And in doing so, you're helping so many other women and girls find themselves too. So it's beautiful. To do this work that you are so passionate about, you need some real organizational capacity, right? I know you started out just as a one woman show, but it can't stay that way forever. So can you talk a little bit about how, investing in the capacity in your organization can really result in more impact for the kids you're trying to serve?
Yeah, I think you make a great point. When I came to Rodman, it came to me at a really pivotal point where I was full of passion, as I said, but passion does not create long term impact. So Rodman really came to me at a pivotal moment where I had established community. I had identified the need that I could serve and fill. But quite frankly, I had no idea what it took to run a nonprofit. I had no idea about the person I would need to become in order to lead this nonprofit. I was very isolated in this work, having come to this really organically. This was not something I set out to do in my life at any time. And if I had not found Rodman at the time that I did, I'm not sure I would have gained both the structure and the vision to create the foundation for actually building an organization. So yeah, the capacity building is everything. It's something that I'm even currently I'm in this next level of capacity building and thinking more strategically. I think when I came to Rodman 5 years ago now, it was sort of survival. I was in survival. It was, okay, how can I get through the next 3 months? I was not even on the staff yet. This was a
Mhm.
passion project with no employees 5 years ago. I'm now full time paid executive director with 4 part-time employees. And all of our programs are expanding. And I have learned so much from sitting at that board table in terms of some of it is just through osmosis,
Mhm.
the community that you just let us sit with. Seeing, oh, this organization is 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. Maybe it's a completely different type of organization, but I can take notes. And so just by sitting in proximity to people doing service for children, like there's
Mhm.
so much to be learned from each other. But yeah, at this point, I'm not in survival. We're like, what does the Soul Project look like in 3 years and 5 years? And that's mind blowing to me. And the only reason we're here is because I was given sort of a framework. I was like free falling and it was like, okay, here's just this ride. Let's put this on your calendar. It gives you something to work towards, to plan towards, to be a part of, to grow within. And it's been critical.
It's interesting to hear you mention about the ride. And when you joined Rodman for Kids as a charity partner in those early days where, it was a passion project, were you expecting the program to really be just about the ride? And how did maybe the reality of being a charity partner look different than what you were expecting coming into it?
Yeah, I think when I first came in, I thought it was going to be more about the ride.
Mhm.
but my involvement has grown quickly. And I think Rodman for Kids has grown since over these 5 years to actually truly be more than the ride. I think that the involvement, the consistency and touch points from Rodman has grown, and it has served us so well. Like everything that seems to be added to Rodman seems to be just what we need more of. And I know that's not by accident. I know that's because we're getting questions. You guys are watching what is needed. There's more smaller organizations with these passionate ideas that need this structure and accountability, and the visibility, and this sense of community with shared purpose. So yes, at first I thought it was just the ride, but I actually think that's the least impactful part of it. The ride serves as a carrot to get
Mhm.
us to do the work that we need to do to support our organizations. The professional development is incredible. Just knowing I have you guys there when we need a connection, when we need a bit of support. Feeling a part of that is so inspiring, but elevating for me as a leader to feel like I'm not just like a recipient of Rodman for Kids, but I'm a partner, like I'm part of it.
Absolutely.
And that feels, it's very empowering. So I'm so grateful for the ride, but I'm as grateful for all the other parts of the Rodman for Kids experience as a partner. I always say it's funny that I know this is like a Don Rodman language, the real deal, right? There's a lot of organizations that maybe don't do as much as they say they do. There's a lot of fancy websites, and I hate to be negative like that, but I say that to say that Rodman for Kids is like the real deal. Like truly elevating organizations that are trying to do good work. And I, as a one person show that is trying to create something from nothing, it's really hard to do good. It's really hard. When I got into this, it's very shiny. And if I knew how hard it was going to be at the time,
Mhm.
I'm not sure I would have done it because it's hard.
Yeah.
And there's so many barriers to just trying to help people. And Rodman for Kids is one of those like lights that you're like, okay, there are resources that actually are trying to help. People do see me trying to do good work. And just the belief in itself is so important.
Just thinking about, you said that it's not just like a recipient, that we're really partners and we collaborate together. You started the Soul Project in 2019, 7-ish years ago now. You've been, the post-COVID world, all of this. Why do you think that collaboration and that partnership matters so much in the nonprofit sector right now?
Yeah, I think what's really special about, we're a group of charity partners that are all serving children. And I think the organizations that are really successful in doing good work are the ones who can remove the ego from it and to partner and say, oh, well, you're doing this piece really well, or you can add to my work in this way. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We're specializing in this. How can we work together to serve both of our communities, which makes us serving double the community and save dollars while doing so? So I think all of these things are part of what's critical right now. Partnerships and collaboration is everything. So we are expanding our Soulful Girls Club right now, which is our program for teen girls with intellectual and developmental differences to belong, to create, to move their bodies. And we are going this month from having one Friday night party to 3 Friday night parties a month, and it's free for families. And I'm just stoked about it. But this has been manifested just by sharing this and saying we need someone who can host us, and we have created 2 partnerships. So things where we don't have to exchange money, we can share communities, we can share our shared vision and purpose and mission. And I just think that moving forward, the more we can cross pollinate our work to help the same community is where the most impact can happen. I love that when you really have that mindset, you find the best human beings because the people who get that are incredible. And I have found multiple of those incredible beings within the Rodman community. I'll always shout out Rachel Calabrese. We partner on all kinds of things. They send a group of kids to our summer retreat every summer. And I just love being able to collaborate in that way, share our impact, and maximize our impact.
What types of support, have been the most meaningful to your organization, whether it be, trust, partnerships, consistency, shared growth, whatever that looks like, what types of support have been the most meaningful beyond funding?
Beyond, obviously, funds are very important, but beyond the funds, I think collaboration. The collaboration is so important because it inspires creativity, and that's where all the magic happens. So I think the collaboration, the bouncing of ideas off one another, the connection with resources. So I think Rodman is a resource and is also great at connecting us with other resources. At this point, and I will say, I'm sure at every point in an organization's journey, they might say different, have a different answer to this. I think at this point in my journey, Rodman has really been able to evolve with our needs, which has been really awesome this year, being able to have you guys as a support and actively partnering with us to make strategic plans during a year when I'm really thinking strategically for the first time. I'm like, "Are you guys doing this, like, for us?" Because it feels that way, which is awesome. So, I think that the fact that Rodman is growing with the needs of the organizations has been really amazing for me and my organization. I think the collaboration, the shared sources, and truly, like I said, just the belief. The belief that you guys are an awesome organization doing good work. Sometimes organizations don't hear that from partners. You might hear that from, like, your uncle, but you need to hear that from someone who understands the work you're doing, and it's very validating and energizing. And that is
Yeah.
probably one of the most important things.
And I love to hear, Amy, I'm sure you agree with me on this. I love to hear that it feels like we have been growing with you and it almost feels like we're anticipating your needs because that's what we want and hope every single charity partner feels, right? Like
Absolutely.
that's why we're growing and we want to be able to say, like, we want to meet our charity partners where they're at. So every partner feels like Rodman for Kids is there anticipating their needs and helping them take that next step.
Mhm.
Whether it be an organization that is a one man shop and is, growing, or whether it be an organization that has been around for 50 years and is looking to rebrand, whatever that looks like for their organization. We want it to seem like we are there and ready to support you no matter where you are. So the fact that you're saying that we've done that's really good to hear.
Yeah, I always say that my hope for our partners is that no matter what comes up for you, any sort of obstacle or hurdle or something you need feedback on, big or small, that we're the first ones you think of to go to for a resource. Then I feel like we're doing our job. If we're always top of mind and like I know they can help me with this, I feel like as an organization we're doing what we need to do. And while we didn't do this just for you, Kristie, we did it for organizations just like you, just like yours, because what we saw was so many of our organizations, about a third of them were really small organizations with doing incredible work. And we want to make sure that you're here for the long haul. So
Mhm.
helping you to grow in a way that makes you more sustainable so that you can exist and thrive and continue to grow with or without us is really what it's all about. So I'm glad this new version of our charity partner program has come around at just the right time for you as you embark on the next chapter for Soul Project.
Universal delivery.
I love it. What is your hope for the future of, collaborative nonprofit work as you look ahead? You said you're looking ahead 3 to 5 years. What do you think that might look like? What do you hope it might look like?
My goal is to have our Soul Project programs touching women and girls in every community from Boston to the Cape over the next 5 years. And doing that as much as possible through partnerships, through connecting with businesses, organizations, schools, communities that share our mission to support girls in living healthy, grounded, confident lives where they can handle all the things, not where they have to set boundaries every time they feel uncomfortable, but where they can handle challenging people, tough conversations, where they truly have the skills and the belief in themselves to go out and change the world. A lot of the things we're sharing are getting back to basics. My education is in positive psychology, which is really the science of what helps people thrive. I really don't believe people are broken. I believe people just need to have the belief in self and the skills. So, over the next 5 years, my goal is to just share this mission to support as many women and girls and their families as we can, to keep asking what's the next breadcrumb of value that we can add. And that's really how it's been from the beginning. And these programs are going to keep growing. So, we now have three Soulful Girls clubs, one in Newton, one in Milton, one in Bridgewater. We're going to
Amazing.
keep expanding that. The need is big, and we're not here to fix anyone. We're just here to allow them a space to belong, to challenge themselves, to create new, healthier patterns, and get back out there. So that's what I'm here for, and I'm like so grateful. Like, literally, my dream when I started Rodman was like I couldn't even fathom the idea that I was gonna sort of slowly retire myself out of my photography job and be able to do this passion project as my living. Like that is a dream come true. I don't take it for granted for a second. And it's hard with every new level. I'm like, there's this next level of pressure and responsibility, but pressure is a privilege and I'm here for it.
I love the way you've reframed things. Pressure is a privilege. It's beautiful. Before we wrap up, Kristie, we love to ask this question of all of our guests. What is a person, activity, or moment from your childhood that helped shape who you are today?
Mm,
This is our podcast version of what would you tell your 12-year-old self?
Right.
This is our
yeah.
version.
So I think that I have to bring my mom into this. So my mom is an amazing woman and she grew up in and out of care growing up. And she's a nurse and she's our Soulful Girls Club nurse now. And she always talked about how she wanted to create some kind of empowerment program for young girls. And she would say, a program for girls like I was, little Cindy's.
Little Cindy's, I love it.
And growing up, my parents worked really hard to give us every opportunity possible. We all went to private schools. Wherever we got financial aid, we went. And my mom would always say, Kristie, you are so lucky to be going to that place. And I always took that felt like a lot of pressure to me. And for a while, I thought I didn't belong because of that statement. But more recently, I've been thinking about that. And it was such a gift that she gave me that my mom always wanted us to understand that there were many lived experiences happening. And that whenever we do have an opportunity to have a privileged experience, remember where you came from, remember there are people who don't have that experience. And so I'm just grateful for being someone who can always put my feet in other people's shoes. And I think that that has really been a piece that shines at the Soul Project and that I'm grateful to my mom for.
I
I
love
love it. I
that.
bet little Cindy is very proud of
She is.
Kristie and
Yeah.
everything she's done. It's beautiful.
12,
Thank you for
12-year-old
sharing that.
Cindy is very grateful for the daughter she has.
And I
Um,
love hearing when people say, I wish I had this when I was 12,
Oh my
because over
gosh.
and over,
mhm.
that means we're doing the right thing.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So to close out, we like to ask all of our guests who are making an impact in our community a question from a kiddo that you serve. So today I have a question from 9-year-old Mia, who partakes in your girls' programs at the Soul Project. Mia actually has two questions for you, and I couldn't pick because they're both really good. So I'm going to ask both of them for you. So Mia would like to know, when you get upset, how do you calm yourself down? So we'll start with that one.
Mia. Okay. I do get upset. And when I get upset, I like to take a shower. That's one thing I do. And I like to get outside and go for a walk. I
Good
find
answer.
moving my body, changing my temperature, really shifting my physical being helps shift the energy.
Next time I'm stressed, I'm just gonna get in the
Mhm.
shower.
Yeah.
And her second question is, when you're sad, what do you do to cheer yourself up?
Hmm. That is a good one, Mia. When I'm sad, sometimes I let myself be sad for a couple minutes and then I try to shift my perspective. And I do that by thinking about all the things that are going well, the things that are good, things that I'm grateful for. And that usually can shift my perspective. And it's okay to be sad sometimes. Just don't want to be stuck there.
She's good.
She's good.
I love
Good
it.
answer. Thank you so much, Kristie, for sharing your story and insight with us today. And although I've known you for at least 5 years now, I feel like I got to learn so much more about how Soul Project came about and, where you're coming from with your passion for helping girls. So appreciate everything you shared with us today. And as always, we'd like to leave our listeners with a reflection question. What does meaningful long-term support look like for you?
Thank you for listening to the Brighter Futures podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, consider sharing it or leaving us a review. To learn more about how Rodman for Kids supports youth focused nonprofits year round, visit rodmanforkids.org. And to learn more about the Soul Project, visit thesoulproject.co.